what's the necessary data to know how to create, like where it actually touches the body and supports?
Well, that data we're kind of taking from the tradition of orthopedics that already exists. Like there is a very general style lines that you'll find in most brace. Like if you look at braces that already exist that you can find, they're pretty much, they follow either a spiral line of the muscle fascia of the body, or you can see that they concentrate right where they're supposed. They sort of do like a very bulky, heavy block right where the joints are. So fascinating. I don't know. Anybody else want to jump in on this?
We know the staple gun didn't work.
Yeah.
That was a failure.
Definitely not.
Rivets are out.
Yeah.
Part of that is one of the challenges of trying to get to a whole suit, and that's part of one of the reasons that I kind of divided it into these, what I believe are the priority modules. So, you know, we're starting with the hands and then we go to the feet, because these are the areas that are the most requested, that I've seen from the EDS population, as well they're the most needed because they're kind of what keeps you functioning. You know, your hands and your feet are very important. And then in terms of that fastening challenge, we sort of reduce that challenge by creating it into pieces as opposed to trying to conceptualize an entire suit that would kind of, you know, form to the body, which would be incredible one day, and I'd love to see concepts for, because it is inspiring and it's good for the innovation of the project. But I think we can address it with 3D scanning, making sure you get that fit, breaking it up into really accessible pieces that of themselves, you know, you think of a glove or versions of clothing, and then, you know, you kind of match, okay, well, in terms of the functionality, like what you need to put on or take off, or what that piece would be interacting with. So for something like the hands, we're looking at it from a direction, okay, so how do you improve the functionality and restrict all the hyperextension all at the same time while making this beautiful thing? Forgot where I was going with that.
Can I ask you a question? I'm interested in your experience with the Spanx-like garment. Do you find that gives you enough bracing, and where does it give you the best bracing?
The compression support, if it's super tight, it can prevent a subluxation. When it's tight enough that it does that, it's uncomfortable on the skin. Yeah, it causes all that bruising, sweat, that kind of stuff. So Spanx, they're an alternative to something that has like hard boning in it or plastic, which can bruise. But it, like most of these other products, it doesn't really get the job done. I own one because, you know, it's in the brace bin of all the things that I've tried. And because it's one of the only things other than a custom corset, like a full Spanx suit that you can buy, that addresses the whole spine, or most of it.
Yes.
Which is a huge issue for EDSers.
And so have you tried, I don't want to get really personal, but I'm curious, have you tried swimming in it or showering in it, or like just keeping it on your body?
No, I bought it, and then within 10 minutes of wearing it, I realized if I'm wearing underwear underneath this whole crotch does not actually allow me to go to the bathroom. I'd have to take off the whole thing. So the designers missed a very key element there that, you know, you look at a lot of the brace designs like that for things that, you know, say you need hip compression, you can get shorts, but then if you're going to the bathroom all day, you've got to struggle to get in and out of those as well. You know, it's just, it becomes not functional because it's not wearable. Any other questions? Any discussion topics anyone's super interested in?
Well, I'm interested in, I guess, kind of, you've gone over the next steps in a lot of ways. Like, you know, there's the fabrication process with the 3D printing has its problems that have to be addressed to make sure you have kind of sturdy enough materials, and you know some of the problems, like with the scanning and everything. How long do you think it might take before some of those get worked out and you might have a kind of functional thing that you can test?
I mean, I'd like to say as soon as possible. it really is a funding issue.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm trying to approach really carefully so that the project remains viable throughout. Because I want to make sure that that funding has a place to go, we know exactly what we're doing with it, and that any money that we receive really is going to advance the project.
Right.
So, I mean, I've been at this for about 2 years now, just learning about the kind of research that's being done. And you look at the data that needs to be collected, it's huge.
Yeah.
This is not, like everyone so far has mentioned, there's been an obstacle encountered in almost every single field that requires a bunch of studies to get past it.
Right.
That kind of work doesn't happen quickly. It takes months of people, making graphs, recording all this stuff for us, which is happening. It is happening. Jill's been working really hard at the university with her team there and trying to find grant monies through, local companies that are interested, that kind of thing, and, applying through the university. I'm looking at ways that we could find funding, because basically once the funding is acquired to the point that we can afford the equipment that's required, the prototyping happens like that.
Right.
Yeah. You buy your filament, you have your equipment. If the research is all done, say that takes a year, maybe 2 years. That's probably, Jill's probably like, no, that's never gonna happen. But it really is. You have all. I know that there are people who are willing to give out designs and that want to work on this. So if there's the opportunity for that, it should come together very quickly.
I want to add to that. The key thing is to find synergy outside of this immediate group. So what I'm trying to do is see if companies that do assemblies, where they have switches and cables and things like that. So it doesn't matter whether you are someone who has EDS or someone that just has a sore hand at the end of the day. The problem is the same. And there are workman compensation issues, there are health and safety and quality issues in the manufacturing environment. They've got much deeper pockets. So that's one of the challenges, is to try to find companies that would put money into the process because they get something out of it, at the same time Adrian and others.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's the goal.
Yeah, that's very important, is sort of spreading the message of the project so that it gets the support.
Then a follow-up question I have is, okay, so I've already said I can contribute artistically if needed, but how else can I get involved with this that'll actually make a difference while it's still on the ground?
Well, learning about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome can obviously be very helpful. It was once considered a rare disease, and in the last 5 to 10 years with genetic studies, it's now, they're realizing, I've seen estimates as low as 1 in 33, so it's definitely not rare, which means there's a big portion of the population that needs to get addressed with this. So you learn about EDS, learn about what hypermobile joints are, that can make a big difference. Do your own research. I mean, most people have experience with braces or casts or splint of some kind, and sort of take that personal experience and the lessons you learn from it, write us a story about your brace experience. Tell us why you hated it, tell us what you actually wanted. If you have something that you wear all the time, or you just have to wear at home, or you had to wear headgear as a kid for your bite or something like that, like all of that information helps. It's sort of just driving the idea that this project is needed, like not just for the EDS population, but if it can be done for the EDS population, then those improvements help factory workers, sports players, anyone who uses at some point a joint support device, right? Like Joe was saying, people in factories are going to have sore hands. EDSers are kind of the perfect test subject group because they have the same problems that most people will experience, but
They have them early and all the time, kind of.
Yeah, and in much worse ways. You get this, mast cell activation, which means a lot of them have allergic reactions, so that's a materials issue. You get this idea of skin tissue fragility, which obviously everyone who wears a brace encounters something like this if they have to wear it for more than 20 minutes or so. And but But with the EDSers, you get like this perfect storm
Yeah.
of all these problems that, you know, if you apply this solution to, perhaps you could address in a way that not only would help them with, you know, if a custom exoskeleton could exist one day, but also just in general, like bracing designs, you know, the baby boomer demographic is the biggest one on the planet right now, and they're all gonna get really old really fast, really soon, and this is gonna be a problem that's gonna be in the forefront of everyone's minds.
Right.
You know.
One thing you and I have talked about, when we talk about wearing braces long term or up against the skin, we've talked about biological solutions to that.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think that we might want to bring into the discussion if anybody has any sort of background with it or knows anybody. Wearing braces for a long time, they begin to get colonized by bacteria, they begin to get colonized by all sorts of nasties that get up against your skin. And when they're designed with materials like neoprene, which is great as a short-term solution, but as a long-term solution, it's, you know, you're basically going to get bed sores underneath your braces. You're going to get problems with your skin reacting and sensitivities to materials. And one thing that came up earlier when we were just sort of getting here for the first time is biofilms. And the idea of inoculating braces and things like that with beneficial bacteria, or things that will actually keep the brace clean and smelling good, and essentially a living thing that sits next to your skin and doesn't react with it, responds like an organism to your skin's health. That I think is a very fruitful, I mean, biomimicry, definitely.
You
Because,
can actually grow a brace with a biofilm on your skin. And
Yes.
that, I think is
Conceptually.
really the...
but,
Well, no,
Like if-
physically it can be done. It's just that we can't make very large chains, very short chains. So, but you can make colonies that grow and will mold to your form. And it is more than a concept. They're actually doing it. It's
The
just
biggest print I've seen of
nascent.
that would be something at the Wyss Institute at Harvard. It's this biologically inspired robotics lab. I love the work that they're doing. They have a little, they're doing a lot of this 4D printing, which is not, it's not biological, but it's using this concept of self-assembly in 3D printing so that you can give dynamic properties to a hard brace. So they have a temperature reactive claw that I saw that sort of picks up, and Michael, like you were just saying, something along the lines of the conceptual idea of biofilm is this idea. Wyss just released the soft muscle Octobot, and the way that they have that working is actually with chemical reactions. So they've made this substance to react to the thing that they put in so that it then moves. And just like we're saying, that it is possible, but it's conceptually possible at the moment, but to extrapolate that to a whole body becomes very complicated.
Yes, that's what we were just discussing. I'm interested though in your experience with the hard brace, because the whole process of scanning, I mean, we can scan a whole arm in one position, but it's movement that's really the problem here. And when you're working with a hard material, it will always be a problem. So
combined materials.
I'm not convinced
And
that we've
not
got the
just-
right idea of working with a
You
hard
haven't
material.
seen what's called a mesostructure, which is something they've done in 3D printing where you take a hard material and you print it in a weave, where the weave is designed to compress and stretch in the way that it's made and folded. That's how they print it.
Bye, thank you. Take care.
What was I saying? Weave.
The weave, compress.
Yeah, the weave compresses and stretches as needed.
Yeah, so these mesostructures, that's what really sparked my idea of like, oh shit, maybe we can 3D print something that will work on the body. It's because you can calculate for these kinds of movements, like you're saying, it has to move with you, right? Aaron was saying, you know, if you turn, or I forget who said, but if you turn your arm this way versus that way, the muscles shape completely change, right? We need to know braces account for that. The way they do that now is with elastic.
In Heather's presentation, I believe she had a piece that was designed from nylon. Was that soft nylon? What kind of nylon was that? Was that hard?
I'm not sure.
Soft?
You'd have to contact her. That's her PhD work.
It was a hand brace.
I'll pull up her thing right now.
We got a
She
question.
does have a few.
got a Facebook question.
Ideally, what you have is a material like squid cartilage, which can be hard and soft in the same material, and also can be the cartilage. Okay, squids have a beak that is incredibly strong, but it has no bones to anchor to.
The
Yeah.
white one?
And the way they're able to do it is squid cartilage is selectively hard.
It's just a render, it's not even,
Selectively.
It's selectively rigid. The same material, the same protein can be almost as hard as bone on one end of the structure and as soft as rubber on the other end, with a gradient of hardness in between them. And it also can be selectively rigid in that it will only bend in one direction, even though it's the way the protein folds. So you have
yeah, that's exactly how mesostructure is.
right. It is a
designed to bend
mesostructure. It's
in
just
one
a
direction
mesostructure
and
protein.
not in the
So
other.
are you saying they're able to print with this material?
No,
now?
but a mesostructure, that's an example in nature, how nature has solved that problem with a mesostructure that's a protein. We can take that same idea, we're not quite there yet because we can't print in that small level, but there are structures in nature that are selectively rigid, that will bend only in one direction, can be very, very soft and very, very hard depending on how you fold the protein along it. And we're beginning to be able to do the same thing with 3D printing,
Yeah,
just on
that's
a much more
something-
macro
when
scale.
when I say 4D printing, that's what that refers to. Is this idea of 3D printing that has movement incorporated into it. Hi, it's nice to meet you, Stephanie. Please get in touch over email.
Mhm.
So we had a question from Lauren asking about the new fabric she brought up in the Facebook group. Do you know what that
Which
is?
new fabric?
That's all I
Lots of
got.
new fabrics. It's hard to know what she's referring to.
Sure, that's all she said.
And Carol, this is the one. Okay, so SLS is the kind of plastic, so that would be a hard
So it's
brace.
a rigid one.
Yeah, yeah. But when you do a mesostructure, you see how these are honeycombs? Honeycombs is a very strong 3D printed shape. Mesostructures will usually be like sort of a curly, I want
Like
to
a-
say swastika, but it's not a swastika. Like it's like a more organic.
It's like the leg brace, I think was it? I've forgotten now which presentation it was in, but
Or
the
or
leg
Steiner.
brace like that.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, do you mean the printed prosthetic leg that looks like wireframe?
It was he did it in some kind of plastic black.
It was, who was it? I'm trying to remember who it was.
KFO.
That's the artist.
Or Steiner.
Orstein, yes, that's who it was.
Yeah, so his is done, and that's that kind of open idea
Right.
that we're really like, that's the benefit of 3D printing, right? Is you can make things like that you can sort of design to be strong at the same time as they have that openness, which gives you obviously less skin contact, more breathability, more comfort, more wearability.
And it's really the comfort part that I get hung up on because I can't see how, I mean, as lovely as some of the designs are and as useful as they can be, it's really hard for me to see that they'll ever be comfortable when they're made out of a hard substance.
Yeah, and I see that as well, and especially because I would like the gauntlets for myself so that I can do artwork, and none of the braces I've seen sort of allow that dynamic movement where you can really use your finite motor skills like I used to be able to.
And I think that's why we heard a couple times with their presentation that the combining of hard and soft materials, where if you can't have a material right now that's hard when it needs to be but soft other times, then you can at least have hard materials providing support but mostly softer materials overall so that you still have that ability to move and things like that, right?
What's really important, I think, in that too, intelligent points, like reading intelligent points, not so that you're creating an entire cloud point of data about the whole figure, but that you have the exact measurements that you really need, that the brace requires to fit perfectly. Probably back to back. Yeah. No, and you're right, Carol, and like that's, for me, you have to look at that and go, okay, so you have a population who is extra sensitive, and their only options are either store-bought things that don't fit and are going to hurt, or they go and get something very expensive, or you wait a really long time and you get a custom fit, and it's a hard piece of plastic that they wrap around you. That's it. Like, that's not custom, that's not fit, it's not really designed with your movement in mind. It's more, they look at the biomechanical function of it before they look at anything else, which is what I'm trying to change with this project.
Not even before, but solely. They
Yeah.
look only at that and they don't
Like,
look at the other
yeah,
things.
like Michael said, utility beige. It's all about utility, which means for the population where this really is your life, that, you know, we're not our utility, we're people.
Yeah. Utility is important, but like Michael said, there should be a base, a utility base upon which the design is
And that's
incorporated.
exactly. And the basic form of each module, so all the research that happened and is happening right now is like to get to that parametric model
Yep.
where we can go, hey artist, you have to like make sure that you touch all these points, but can you draw anything. You can literally design anything you want in any color, any, you know, texture, like, you know, and then we can prototype those because it's super fast to make, unlike traditional, you know, you gotta mold it and cast it and throw it and then form it and then dust it off and then polish it, like.
But even then, we could wrap it like a truck. It's
We're
not,
we're trying to take away that craftsman edge that sort of is inefficient in the design of customizing medical things.
Well, you know what they're using in bras now that's really popular is memory foam.
Yeah, hard foam instead of wires.
And I thought, gee, maybe that. But have you ever tried making a brace out of a material like this? Have you ever actually tried to make something like
I
take
haven't.
this and?
Oh, like yeah,
Mm.
oh yeah, yeah.
And how does it work? I mean, does it help? Does it? I mean, it's so
If
it flexes every way, so it's hard. I'm
Yeah,
not
well
sure
that's
that
the
you get.
challenge, right? Like you
I'm
can
not
have
sure you get much support out of it. But
exactly, like I said to you before, if you have very tight compression, obviously that supports the joints, but as soon as you make it too tight, you're experiencing a whole bunch of other problems.
Yes.
So you're trading off skin irritation and bruising and sores for, okay,
For better
you know,
support.
better support, but then you can't
But then
move in the
then you
same
have
ways
your
that you were
blood
able
flow
to.
is restricted and you get swollen hands. And I'm sorry, I tore apart your material here.
It's breaking anyway. That's part of
I
what
was
I
just,
do. is
making
to,
it work, so it's now really small.
Exactly. No, I go to the engineers, and like Joe was saying, there's lots of problems in 3D printing, which is all wear and tear stuff. It's just
Yeah.
learning about how this manufacturing process creates things. And like I go and they print me things, and then I test them for 10 minutes, and they break like every time. But that's how I'm learning about, how these things function, where the stress points are, and it's kind of similar across most of the styles and materials that you'll get in the market. Like, you get your elastic or your plastic or your gel with your Velcro, or maybe like a little button or something cute, but it's usually Velcro.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're stuck with. Any
So
more questions?
she clarified and said the nanopore fabric that is antibacterial while still breathable.
Michael, did you read that one? I think that was within the biofoam discussion somewhere.
I think so.
I might have to get back to you on that, Lauren. I'll look for it right now while we're talking. Anybody else have any, Carol, you have any thoughts? I know you're very interested, something that I didn't really get to touch on at all, because to get funding for this project, I really got to focus on the achievable aspects,
Yes.
which is this printing, right? But I want to see inlaid pressure chambers, I want to see environmental relay and monitoring, I want to see something that I was talking about with you, biofeedback. Which is something that like everybody has been seeing sort of explode across the market these days. Is Fitbit and all that
Yes,
stuff.
right.
Like which for people with health problems is important information to have. It's not just
It's not just tracking how many steps you've
I
taken
actually-
for.
Yeah.
It's like
you I was talking to about this? No, it was Jeff. Because I actually was really excited about that until I realized that Fitbit doesn't collect information, it doesn't collect data in real time. And what I was looking at was more an instant feedback thing. But the Fitbit,
neural feedback.
yeah, the Fitbit will collect data for you, and you can modify it to collect certain types of data, but you can't collect it in real time. So you don't, you can download it and then say, okay, at 12:03, this was going on, but you won't know that at 12:03. You'll know that at 12:15 after it's too late. So that kind of,
That's frustrating.
I don't know how you get around that. I don't have enough knowledge to know how to improve on that, but
Yeah.
that's a bit of an issue for me.
Well, that's what I find with all this stuff. It's like it's super easy to identify all the obstacles,
Yes.
but when you really start to look into the kind of people that need to be looking at this problem, it's like all the fields,
Well,
all of them. So it's very interdisciplinary. Trying to think of how to search in this group. There we go. I'm never on my laptop. I don't know how to do this.
now, have you been in touch with anyone from the Reese Institute, like
I did.
personally? Yes, and
I
so,
did. Yeah.
So, have you had any feedback from him? I mean, is someone saying, "Hey,
I haven't.
could
I've
do
been.
that."
Yeah, I've been
Can't do
too
it.
scared to like really know what to ask them. So I've been following the research. I got in touch with them, and basically their response was, if your researchers have questions for us, send them on, and our researchers will send it on to who we think is applicable, and they'll reply. But what I'm really trying to do is work with Jill and see if there's a possibility to get the University of Windsor's engineering department to actually be able to receive some of that data that Reese is collecting and have their, Jill talk to the people in the engineering department there, because I think that would be very productive, because the research they're doing is similar but in different areas, so I think if we combine it, it'd be very, very good.
Do they have? I don't know, to be honest, but do they have any bioengineering? Do they have a bioengineering department at the university? Do they have any bioengineers? Like
They have a bioarts program. You want to talk a little bit about that?
We have what's called the incubator lab. It's part of the visual arts faculty, actually, but it's a place where artists can go and explore aspects of biomimicry and doing art with things like bacterial fermentation and things like that. So it's also attached and works with the biology department. So we regularly have guest lecturers come in who are biology students. There's collaboration between the two of them. So it's got autoclaves and incubators, microscopes, test tubes, all sorts of fun stuff. Petri dishes, all that fun stuff. And regularly has guest speakers come in to talk about their work in the new art of bioengineering. It's the sort of the newest. So
Yeah.
do we have a bioengineering department at the university? No, but we do have an art department that does bioengineering. It's really quite interesting, and they offer bioart as a program in the art department. Mm-hmm.
Now I am going to put all the slides online and all the speeches that I have copies of, so that everyone can look through the slides if they couldn't see them, or if they couldn't hear any parts of it, read the speeches. So we have a lot to clean up. It's about 9:15. We could probably talk about this forever. I mean, Carol, you're super fascinating. So.
Well, I wouldn't mind actually looking at some more of the research from the Reese Institute, so I'll make that one.
Well, I mean, I will. if you look on the event page, I've tried to link, I think Bob, his Facebook contact is linked there, so you can actually message Bob personally. I have everyone's emails if you want to message them over email, something like that. Anybody online, same thing. If you have questions for anybody on the panel, even our international guests, please just send CustomEXO@gmail.com a little message, and we will pass that question on for you. This is good. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Thank you,
for
Sean,
doing
for
this.
live
This is
streaming.
really interesting.